This podcast is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The content shared is not a substitute for professional medical, mental health, legal, or financial advice. Please consult a qualified professional for personalized guidance or treatment. By listening, you acknowledge that the hosts and guests are not responsible for any decisions or actions you take based on this content.
Feel like a grouch, go beyond the couch. Share your confessions on the Aurora Sessions.
Hello, Aurora Healing Crew. Welcome to the Aurora Sessions Beyond the Couch, where we take the stressors that come up in session and bring them into conversation beyond the couch. This is the space where real talk meets real life. Hi, everyone. This is Theresa here, the founder of Aurora Sun Counseling, a group private practice providing psychotherapy for clients in New Jersey, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. Today, we have Jennifer Lendvai-Lintner. So I don't know if you had a chance to, I chop everybody's names up. So please say your name.
It's Jen Lendvai-Lintner.
Lendvai-Lintner. Almost like Lin-Man.
I tell my students it's Lendvai, rhymes with pie, Lintner.
Lintner. I love it. So I always, I'll start with her bio, and then I'll get to how I know Jen. So she is an award-winning writer, teacher, and mom to 3 children. After a lengthy hiatus, Jen returned to writing when her youngest was diagnosed with Pallister-Killian mosaic syndrome shortly after birth in 2019. Jen's writing frequently explores motherhood, particularly the wilds of mother caring as she is experiencing it. You can get a glimpse of her story by visiting her on Instagram at Jen Writer or by checking out her publication links on her website at www.jenniferlendvailintner, which is LendVailintner.com. Okay, which we'll have it posted and everybody could click on it later on. So Jen, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm so excited. Jen actually, so when my son played soccer, which he retired from soccer to play hockey full time. He's 12, so we're totally just kidding. I met her on the team, and you had your son and the girls at the team, and you were a very present mom. And slowly I got to know you, and I met Hilda, and your husband coached, and so and then after I started this podcast, I bumped into Jen at Target, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I need to talk to her for the podcast. So thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for inviting me.
So I, like every new mom relationship, after I met Jen, I Facebook requested her, or vice versa. I probably requested her because I'm a stalker. So, but then I saw that you're a writer, and it was so beautiful, like the blogs that you wrote. And then you would tell me about like you going back to school at Rowan. So can you tell me first, I guess as a writer, what got you into writing, and what do you love about it?
I've always been an avid reader, a voracious reader. I cannot read enough. And I think reading and writing go hand in hand. I always enjoyed writing. I wrote for the school newspaper. And when I ended up going to college, I did my undergraduate at the University of Delaware, and I majored in English with a concentration in journalism. So I was doing a lot of writing for the paper while I was in college. And I knew that I never really wanted to be a reporter as a career.
Yeah.
I don't think I have the I don't think I'm quite like as like cutthroat as you need to be in order to be a journalist, a good one. So
They are pretty cutthroat. It's like they
I
have
don't mean to insult any journalists out there.
but you definitely have to have
You
a
have to be
personality.
really tough. Yeah, you have to be super tough.
Yes.
It just didn't, that particular genre of writing didn't probably match my personality best. So, I eventually went back to school to get a teaching certificate so that I could be an English teacher. And I was a journalism advisor for the school newspaper where I worked, and really enjoyed it, but I wasn't doing a whole lot of my own creative writing. And it was when I had Hildy in 2019. And I just kind of really needed an outlet. I just had this kind of draw and pull to start writing about my experience and getting it down on the page. And so that's sort of what brought me back to writing, I would say, after not really having done it for quite.
And I just realized I probably chopped up Hildy's name. Is it Hildy?
Hildy.
Yeah. I don't know why I said Hildy.
Well, we have tricky names in our family with our, my husband is Hungarian. And so my son's name is Hungarian, Benza. So we have some unusual names in our family. So it's okay. We understand.
Well, thank you for understanding. But so Hildy, is there a meaning behind Hildy?
Hildy is named after Saint Hildegard of Bingen, and she's a really remarkable saint. I had never really heard about her, and it's sort of it's sort of a long story about how I stumbled upon Saint Hildegard. But as soon as I began to read about her, and she was Saint Hildegard, among many other things, she was also a writer, and I was really struck by some of the things that she had to say about people being living sparks of God's love. And I was pregnant with Hildy at the time, and I didn't know if we were having a boy or a girl. And Hildy just stuck with me. And so I just had this like feeling that she was a girl all along. And so, Hildy was her name before we even knew she was a girl.
Did you find out, did you not find out the genders, or did you find out the genders before they were born?
My older two, Nora and Benza, they were both surprises. We did not find out. But with Hildy, like I said, I just had this, before I was even pregnant with her, I just had this feeling that like we were destined to have another girl. Like it just felt like the missing piece. And yes, my husband said, you have to be prepared that we could have either a boy or a girl. I said, I know, but I just know it's going to be a girl.
Know. Yeah.
So we did find out with her.
Oh, okay. And you were right, as you are usually. Yes. So it's really funny because I feel like, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do a podcast anyways, because I just think as moms, it's like, no one ever prepares us to be a mom, no matter how many times they tell you have to get your sleep in, which is the weirdest thing, because I said to people, how am I supposed to sleep like pre-baby to catch up for the sleep after the baby?
You can't really bank it. It doesn't work
exactly,
like that.
Exactly. And that was just like one thing. So not to mention all the other stuff that comes with being a mom, a working mom, a wife, all of that. So then when I met Hildy, and you probably, and I'll just like, you probably get this a lot because you are mom of a child with special needs. And I thought she was a baby because she was in a stroller. And I realized she wasn't. And so can you tell me a little bit about the syndrome, what it is, your journey of it?
So Hildy has Pallister-Killian mosaic syndrome, and it is a spontaneously occurring genetic condition that's caused because she has extra genetic material. So to get technical, she has 4 copies of the short arm of chromosome 12.
Okay, thank you. I mean, maybe one person in our audience will know what you're talking about.
And so it's a really rare condition. And I consider us fortunate because we did receive her diagnosis just a few weeks after she was born. I think it can go undiagnosed for quite a while. And there's even though a rare diagnosis is challenging in many regards, it also to have a name to put to what is happening, I think is helpful. And so there's a range of severity and symptoms with Pallister-Killian mosaic syndrome. Hildy she has mobility issues. She's a wheelchair user. There's frequently children with PKS can have seizures. Fortunately, right now, Hildy is not experiencing that. But there's, she has global delays. And so right now there's an absence of speech, although she does use AAC to communicate. And she has, breathing and eating difficulties. There's a whole host of things that can go on with PKS. So Hildy is 6. And
okay.
So that's,
before you get too much further,
Sure.
What is AAC?
Oh, AAC is, it stands for, augmentative and alternative communication. I think I got those A's in the right order. But basically, it's the forms of communication, assistive technology for communication. It can take many forms. What Hildy is learning to use is an eye gaze device. So she has what looks like a large iPad, and she's able, by dwelling on the screen, different locations, she's able to make selections. For what she wants to say. She can navigate to different pages and things like that. So she's acquiring language that way. And we also know, because as she's getting older and she's able to kind of get her body to do, to respond in the ways that we can tell she wants to, she's beginning to like nod her head yes, in the affirmative, and shake her head no, in the negative too. So
that's exciting.
It's really exciting. Yeah. So I say she's, she doesn't speak with words,
right.
But she for sure is able to communicate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that gives her some autonomy for sure. Like, being able to say yes and no is the very basic of our rights, right? So you found out, you said how long after?
It was just a couple of weeks, probably about 2 weeks after she was born. When I was pregnant with Hildy, we had some flags during the pregnancy that I had very typical, very uneventful pregnancies and births with my first 2. And, kind of right away, we started to get some tests that came back that were raising flags, and so we did not know exactly what was going on, but we were prepared to a degree that this was probably going to look a lot different than our other 2 experiences had been with our older children. And then I was being followed pretty closely, and an ultrasound showed that Hildy had a condition called omphalocele, and that is a breach in the abdominal wall. And so organs can kind of like escape into that. There's a bit of a membrane or a pouch that covers them. And it's frequently, not always, but frequently associated with chromosomal abnormalities. Okay. So again, we knew that NICU would be part of our journey because she was going to need to have this surgically repaired. But we didn't know what the larger, scope was going to look like.
So I remember being pregnant, and one of the hardest parts were when there are little flags and we just don't know and we can't do anything about it, and the baby's in our belly and you're just really just ruminating on it constantly, and you just want to fast forward time so the baby comes out and you can figure all those things out and get some answers. What was going on in your mind during that time, and what were the conversations like with your husband?
I think I had to really undergo a huge change because, I have a big, kind of a big gap, I think, between Nora and Benza, my older ones, and Hildy. and that's for a reason, because we had our 2 children and I felt very overwhelmed as a mom of young kids. And I felt that I didn't feel like I was doing it particularly well. It was very hard on myself. I didn't feel like I could release enough, control in order to just kind of settle in and enjoy it and appreciate that, like, the mess is part of the joy.
Pause. Yes. This is a huge reminder, especially during the holiday season.
Yes.
That, oh my gosh, I love the way you said that we would say that again, that we didn't have the time, like the ability to
just
let
go
enough to enjoy.
Yeah. I was very critical of myself. I expected, being a mom is a big deal. It's an important job, the most important job I'll ever have.
Yes.
And it matters so much to me. But I gave myself very little leeway to make mistakes or, and of course I did.
Oh,
you do.
Right.
What I didn't know then that I do know now is that, moms are humans and we're human, and allowing ourselves to be human and allowing our children to see us as whole human beings is really important. And so that's kind of a transformation that I went through in my pregnancy with Hildy, and then certainly being a mom to a child who has as much going on as Hildy does. So you asked, what was it like being pregnant with her and knowing that there were certain things, cropping up, but we couldn't have answers to them right away. It was tough. It was it was my beginning of learning to get comfortable living in unknowing, just I can't know everything. I can't control everything. So I have to focus on what I can do. Right. And not hold myself accountable to all of the other things sort of out there. And I have written about this, but I think the decision that I made for myself when I was pregnant with her, I recall, there was a lot of uncertainty. We did not know if Hildy if I was going to be able to carry her full term, if I might potentially lose her, that all of that was kind of on the table. And I remember thinking, I don't want to tell Nora and Benza until I absolutely have to. And it's obvious that I'm pregnant, right?
Wow. So early on, was it that test when we are like 12 to 16 weeks, that
it's
test?
The NIPT, I think, is the first one. It's a blood test.
Okay.
And so mine came back with really weird. In fact, I was at a midwife practice and they were like, we've never seen this before. I'm like, and that was going to be the start of everything.
Right.
Oh, like anything you've never seen before, like that's going to happen.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that was the beginning of our rare journey for sure.
Yeah.
So I just, I thought that was my initial knee jerk was like, okay, well, I won't even tell Nora and Benza until it's very obvious that I'm pregnant and I have to tell them.
You have such self-control because as soon as I was pregnant, I was like, oh my gosh, we also had a few miscarriages, but even with that, I still had to tell a few people, but yeah, they were probably young enough that you didn't have to tell.
Yeah. And, I would fast forward and I would think about how difficult that would be if I did end up losing the baby.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
And I didn't want to have to put them through
a loss, grief.
Right. If, I said that they can't grieve what they never knew even existed.
Right.
And I realized that that wasn't going to sustain us. Right. I was happy. I was happy about this baby. I was looking forward, to having this baby. And I was like, I'm not going to rob myself of the joy of this expectation of this baby that we, love and want. And so, I'm going to live in the joy. And, what I know now is that grief and joy, they live side by side. And because, so I wasn't going to save myself from grief by, trying to keep that joy away. I was like, I want to enjoy every second that I can.
I love that. And often when people see us, I can only speak for my own clients, but in when I shared that I also had miscarriages, tell the clients who are worried about that, I said, like I myself, not specifically, but like, I think it's important to tell the same people that you would tell that you had a miscarriage, that you're pregnant, because you're going to be disappointed anyway if something happens. If something happens, you're going to be sad. So not getting excited about something, like you have control over your feelings, we do not. So, so like you said, live in that joy, live in that excitement.
Yeah, and it was an important lesson for me in how, you know, I could do all of the right things and things are still going to happen. So it was a real lesson in, you know, that I'm not in control as much as, you know,
You have so many great quotes right now. So we could do all the right things and things are still going to happen.
Yes. And so it was for me, that was a real release that needed to happen in order for me to be able to, you know, truly feel joyful. I needed that like freedom and space in order to truly feel like joyful in my motherhood. And I think that, you know, my experience has kind of led me there.
So after you got your diagnosis, what happened from there?
I'll have to give you the
Short word.
supremely abridged version here. Hildy was in the NICU initially for almost 2 months, just shy of 2 months. It was a roller coaster. You know, any family who has experienced the NICU or any family who has a medically complex child kind of knows that, you know, once you're admitted, it's just like, who knows what's going to happen. Everything happens. And it's, it's always a wild ride. So she ended up needing to have a G-tube placed, which is basically a tube into her tummy because she was having she could not safely swallow. She just didn't have that suck swallow reflex. She battled initially. Before they discovered this, she aspirated. She got very, very sick when she was just a couple of days old. Scary sick that, you know, we weren't sure if she was going to make it.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, just really, you know, difficult times, you know, for sure. And I think that because I had struggled postpartum with, probably most so with my first child, I kind of, you know, and I didn't have help and supports. I kind of didn't know that like this doesn't look like the postpartum depression I think postpartum depression is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
But I realized in retrospect how much I was struggling.
Yes.
And so when I had a child who had as much going on as Hildy, and I have 2 other children at home, I just kind of recognized the scale of what was happening. And so I began to reach out kind of on my own and see if I could find, a counselor to speak to, because I knew that support, even though I didn't feel, surprisingly, I didn't feel like overwhelmed or like I was in crisis, even though like we kind of were in crisis.
Right.
I think it's not until like after the fact that you kind of recognize it. You're in survival mode when you're going through stuff.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that I was supporting myself. You know, I've got, now I have 3 children relying on me, and we have these pretty extreme circumstances. Like I'm going to need to be the strongest,
version of yourself
that I can be. And like, I'm going to need support here.
Yeah.
Like, somebody is going to need to support me.
Good for you. Of course we love that as a counseling, service, that you were able to advocate for yourself and look for that yourself. I do have a question going back to when you found out the markers, because I think this, and you could answer it as comfortably as you want to. I think a lot of us, when we're pregnant, we often think like, what do we do? Because like some of the tests out there, right? And I'm not trying to get political or anything like that. But it's like, what do we do? Were any of the flags severe enough that you had to consider another option?
There was never when I first when they detected the umbilical, and we could also tell that there was a 2-vessel cord. Usually the umbilical cord has 3 vessels.
Okay.
And if there's a 2-vessel cord, it can be another indicator for other things happening.
Yeah.
And then I had that NIPT test with like uninformative DNA pattern, blah, 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 like this weird result. And so the perinatologist, this was my first time meeting her at that ultrasound, and she's kind of delivering this. She was terrible. she didn't have a great bedside manner, and like I'm like so excited about this pregnancy and like, all this. And she basically like crushed my dreams and, and had no compassion. It was really bad. That was my first and last appointment with her. So so she just kept saying, you need to make an appointment with a genetic counselor. We have findings. And I understood what she was saying. I was not under any pretenses. Like I understood, like what this all meant. But, I was also confident that I knew, like, you just know in your heart, like I knew in my heart what our path would be.
Right.
And so like having, like, there are other tests you can have done. Like you can have, I think it's called a CVS. And that needs to be done within a specific window in your pregnancy. Then you can get an amniocentesis if you're a little further along. None of those tests in our case were going to be a guarantee that we would get a diagnosis, for example, or we would know exactly what was going on. And it posed a risk for the pregnancy.
Correct.
And it wasn't something that my husband and I wanted to, we just didn't want to risk. We didn't want to risk it. And, I just, like, again, I never had to make a choice or a decision because it was,
you knew in your heart what
exactly, like I knew in my heart, and I support everybody's ability to make those choices. I couldn't, like, there wasn't a decision to make for me. It simply was what I knew. This is what I knew. I'm like
for your family.
Yes,
for yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. No, thank you for sharing that, because I think one of the things that connect us all as women is like, and even if you choose not to be a mom too, it is just those extra decisions and thoughts and what we think when we're at, like, laying in bed at night. So, so can you tell us, what does that syndrome mean to, like, the lay people? So, what does, like, for example, maybe, like, what does it look like day to day for Hildy and your family?
So like I mentioned earlier, Hildy is 6 years old. We're fortunate to have some nursing support for her. So we have home healthcare nurses that come and help us take care of Hildy. She does not yet independently sit up.
Okay.
And so she needs to be, like, she needs help with all activities of daily living. She needs assistance with everything, dressing, diapering, eating, like all the things. Like I say, she is tube fed. And she's a wheelchair user. She uses, like, positioning equipment and stuff. We've got loads of equipment at home. She started school when she was 3 years old. Because she qualified for early intervention. And once you turn 3 years old, then, you get assessed, and she qualified for preschool of the disabled at that time. And so what was best in our situation, we were able to go and look at different options in our area. And Hildy goes to a fantastic school. It's an out-of-district placement. She takes the bus there. Her nurse goes with her. Her school has like in-house OT, PT, speech, all the things. So and I can't say enough good things about them. It is absolutely the best place for Hildy, and we have just seen such tremendous growth and development in her since she started school. That was a scary sort of threshold for us. She was so young. Yes. And she was going to school for a full school day, 5 days a week. She had been under my watch and care. Yes. And, when I think back to what preschool looked like for my older two, you know, they were going a couple of days a week for a few hours, you know, and now here I have my child who, you know, isn't able to speak to me.
Correct.
You know, I'm going to be sending her off to, you know, virtual strangers.
Yes. Yes.
First. And so that was a huge leap, but one that I'm so glad that we made. And of course you do your due diligence. I wasn't just shipping her off.
No, but yeah,
but it's been wonderful. So yeah, she has a really full week because she does go to school. She comes back, she's tired. She works really hard. You know, she has equipment, like a stander, which is basically like, I'll call it an apparatus, basically that supports her in a standing position, because standing is so important. Even though she can't yet do it on her own, it's really important for your bones, that like having that like pressure and stuff on your joints and things like that. It's really important. So, you know, Hildy has a lot of, there's a lot of like unknowns. Like when you've got a child that has a rare diagnosis, I just feel like we never really know what to expect. Like we could be having a perfectly typical day for us, and then like things can escalate very quickly.
Oh, geez.
And so we have to just be, I think we have to just be light on our feet. It's been important for Nora and Benza too. I mean, you know, my older two, they really, they've grown a lot and they're so mature, and, you know, they have to switch gears really quickly, and we have to be flexible. It's not always easy. Plans get canceled, really nice things that we're looking forward to. We have that fall apart, because unexpected things arise. And obviously you have to meet the need. There's an emergency. We've got to get Hildy. One of the reasons we live where we live, we actually moved. Hildy was born in California. And we moved here to Southern New Jersey so that we could be, you know, a hop, skip, and a jump from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So, you know,
I'm so sorry you had to move from California. What part of California?
We lived in Southern California. It was nice and beautiful.
Oh my God.
But we're from the East Coast originally.
Yes. Because your husband is a Giants fan.
Yes. Thanks for putting that out there, Theresa.
Little things that I remember.
We're both, he and I both grew up in North Jersey. So we've got family up there, and I do have one of my sisters lives down here locally. Oh, good. So it's nice. I do have a sister and her family super close. Okay. But CHOP is one of the few places that has doctors that are familiar with PKS. And so our living here was very intentional. I wanted to be able to have Hildy seen by doctors who
knew what they were talking about.
Have seen her syndrome before. And the other thing is Children's Hospital of Philadelphia also has a program called the Compass Care Complex Care Program, and Hildy is a part of that. And so there is a physician who I consider like our hub. She is the one who looks at all the different specialties that Hildy has, and a lot of times connects the dots. So I want to say we follow up with her about every 6 months. There's also a nurse case manager on the team and a social worker. So it's just kind of like this centralized, I have a physician who's looking at everything. Yeah. And that, you know, I don't have a medical background, you know, so it's difficult for me to sometimes understand how one thing relates to another, And this doctor is that person for us. And it's just having that, I think, continuity of care and that communication. That's one thing that in my experience, the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia does really well, is when you have these complex cases, they're really good at communicating and working in tandem with each other, because rarely do things happen.
I know the Northeast Jersey get such a bad rap, but we are so close. I love even just the arts and sports. Like we're so close to everything. New York, like Philly,
the Giants.
Yes. Are you a Giants fan too?
I am. I support the Giants. Okay. Yes. But I'm not really a huge sports person. Yeah. my one sister laughs at me because I'm like, well, I love a theme. She's like, it's not a theme. She's like, it's a sporting event.
So funny.
So, yeah. So I don't always know what I'm watching, but I enjoy the atmosphere and I enjoy supporting a team. So yeah.
Yes, it is fun. It's all good fun. And we need, Giants fans in order to be obnoxious Eagle fans. So, okay. So coming from a healthcare perspective, I read I think on your blog, you get like a certain number of hours from the nurse a week. How many hours does the nurse, and do they stay with you? What does that look like?
So for us, what it looks like right now is Hildy is approved for 16 hours a day.
Okay.
So the nurses right now come in the morning before school. The one nurse travels with Hildy to school and then brings her back home.
Okay.
And then her shift usually ends typically around 4, and then an evening nurse comes in. Hildy is on a BiPAP overnight for respiratory support overnight. She doesn't need to use it during the day, except if she's sick.
Okay.
Then she'll go on that. I think typically you would have the overnight hours because she's on the BiPAP overnight. But for us, it's really difficult it was really tricky to fill those overnight hours.
Yeah.
So as long as we had flexibility to fill the daytime hours, like our feeling was like, well, let's get the support when we can get the support.
Yes.
And that way, like if we have a night where we're constantly up, like, attending to a monitor or, whatever it is, at least we've got support during the day. And, we work obviously during the day and things like that. So that's how it has worked out, for us. And
does that go through insurance, or did she qualify for like Medicare, Medicaid?
In New Jersey, it's different state to state. And so we had gone through the process in California, but it takes quite a long time. So we had to start all over again when we got to New Jersey. And in New Jersey, while she doesn't qualify for I think some states, like just based on diagnosis, you will automatically qualify. In New Jersey, doesn't work like that.
Okay.
You have to have certain qualifying factors. Okay. And so Hildy does. And so she's eligible for a program, or it's called MLTSS, Managed Long-Term Supports and Services. And so she has to requalify every year for that. So that is a really critical backup for us. We do have primary insurance. So everything goes through your primary insurance first. Okay. And insurance plans vary and stuff like that. So some with Hildy's qualifications, they might provide private duty nursing. Right. So ours typically it can change, because basically what's going on with her, she might qualify for a certain amount. When it exhausts, then it would go over to MLTSS.
Yeah. That's so funny. When I worked for an insurance company, there was that team. Mm-hmm. And I never knew what it was until now. So, okay. So 16 hours of nursing, the nurse goes with Hildy to school. Mm-hmm. Because I just think it's so wonderful because one of the things that I also think about are the other two kids, because usually in therapy, it's the other two kids that show up to talk about what it's like to live with someone with severe special needs and parents, sharing the parents in that way. Mm-hmm. So that's so wonderful that, we see Benza and your daughter doing their social things. Mm-hmm. Being that I'm also a marriage counselor, how has it been? What do you and your husband do? Because without having to get too personal, I'm just making huge assumptions because you're as far as I'm the last to know. It's not until on Facebook that people post cut their husbands out. And I'm something happened. But you're together, right? Yes. Okay. What do you think was helpful? And what do you think is important to tell other couples who have children with severe special needs? Because as you probably know from your support groups, it's like such a strain on marriages. And one of like a lot of marriages don't make it.
Yeah, it's a lot of stress and pressure, and we are individuals. And so we are going to process things and experience things in our own individual ways. And sometimes that can be hard to like negotiate if you're like, don't feel like you're on the same exact page. So I mean, we have to just continually keep our marriage and our relationship like in the viewfinder. Like we can't, we rely on each other. We are really, aside from the nursing support that we get, we don't have any other caregivers for Hildy who know how to take care of her. Right. And so, I try to remind myself and also my husband, that I feel like our baseline stress level is elevated. Yeah. For sure. More than most people. And just, we have to try to keep that in mind because we can't always just do as much as everybody else does. For myself, that means that, all those things that used to bog me down that I felt like I should do when Nora and Benza were, preschool age, elementary age. I got roped into a lot of things that weren't bringing me a whole heck of a lot of joy, but I felt like, well, I should show up to do this. I need to show up. I want to be a part, and I want to contribute and all this kind of stuff. I have to be, by necessity now, I have to be much more intentional about your time. My time. Where can my yeses actually go? And
so what does it look like in your like future for Hildy? What is like the prognosis? Yeah,
we don't really know. And that's one of the, that's where we are. We just have to be comfortable living in the unknown. And we don't know. Oh my gosh. We don't know. There are people with PKS that live into adulthood, and there are, lots of infants with PKS that pass away. Children with PKS, also like we have no way of knowing. And that's that's a hard place to live, like we are all going to die. Right. But I think that this being on this path kind of puts it, right in your face in a way that, and of course, it's like unimaginable to think about losing a child. And so, I didn't know the words anticipatory grief until I began on this journey. And I do know those words now. Right.
What do you, because with anticipatory grief, with anything, not just like the most horrifying nightmare, not to catastrophize, but like for, moms, it's like, one of the worst things that could happen. But in general, what do you do to keep yourself from going there when, sometimes we have to go there just to acknowledge your feelings. Yeah. But what do you do to take care of yourself to not go there so often?
I live in the joy. And so that doesn't mean that I'm burying my head in the sand or that I'm avoiding, what our reality is. It just means that what needs to take precedence more of the time is what I can do today. What am I enjoying today? What are the moments that are provide the meaning, right? Like, I think there's a lot of times, I think we face hospitalizations with Hildy, and she has different things going on, or she gets real sick. She tends, common illnesses tend to impact her to a greater degree. And so there's a lot of times where we're spending, days, nights, long nights, in the ER or in the hospital. and those are hard and they're grueling on everybody. It's grueling on Hildy. It's grueling on my husband and I, and on our older kids. But those are going to be part of our journey. They just are. It makes the moments when I can sit with Hildy on the couch and we can have a fire in the fireplace and like just watch, TV and spend time together. Like think that I have a better perspective on those moments. They mean a lot to me when we can go out as a whole family and be together and do things, and I think that's one thing, not to get off on a tangent, but that's something that I realize now that I probably definitely didn't appreciate before, is how accessibility and lack of accessibility matters so much for families. We can't do all of the things that we want to do as a family because they're not always wheelchair accessible. Hildy is getting older. She needs diapering, universal size changing tables are in need, everywhere. We need those things everywhere. People want to be in church, in movie theaters, in, concert venues and sporting event venues and stuff like that. Like when you don't have access, and, it limits what,
you can do.
What we can do. And it limits all of us. Like it limits our entire family. We can't have these experiences.
It's like I remember like when I had Nick, the second one is people say you function under the lowest common denominator, because it's like we can't do certain things if the baby can't do something. And it's like, and this is another layer of that.
Yeah. And I think we, and we're learning, right. As we go to, sometimes, we'll make a plan to do something. And then, if we haven't done enough due diligence, then all of a sudden it's not accessible. It's like, oh no, it's a disappointment, but I think that's, also one of the blessings, because it has opened our eyes. It's opened my eyes for sure to look at our spaces and our communities and our events and activities and realize, what are the limitations? And unless there is a voice to those things, they remain that way. And I notice, Nora and Benza too will remark to me like, oh, that, this is pretty accessible, and, so I think that's important.
Yes. Yeah. What do you think is, what is something that you would like people to know about PKS, or just about being a mom with a child with special needs?
I mean, I think to build on what I was just mentioning about accessibility is, when you have a child who has disabilities and complex medical needs, so much of my energy and time is wrapped up in, her medical care and all the things that go along with that, fighting with insurance for certain things to be covered, ironing out issues that are happening with her medical equipment companies. I mean, the amount of time that I spend on the phone trying to like sort things out and advocate, and you have to keep calling back, and oftentimes you get a different answer every time you call. And so I think that's always my biggest advice to people who are in similar situations is like, just keep calling and just keep asking, because, you get a different answer almost every time when you speak to different people. And ultimately you can usually get to where you need to be if you just persist, but you have to have the ability to do so. Right.
I know.
Like that's a privilege to have the time that I, can,
I was just thinking about that, because it's hard to, be like a therapist or a mom, like without noticing the privilege too, especially living in South Jersey. And I always think about access to healthcare. And if Hildy didn't have the parents that she has, and there's a reason why you were her mom, that it could look very different for her.
Yeah, we're lucky to be able to advocate for Hildy, and yeah, I think the experience as a whole has really opened up my eyes, and there are, my husband and I have each other. We're a team. We also have support from our family as well. And it doesn't look like that for everybody. And disability happens to everybody, anybody.
Right.
And so it happens in all different sorts of scenarios.
Yes.
And so, I have a lot of compassion for people who are, in positions and, and don't have,
the
very
privilege,
much, don't have the privilege and don't have very much support, because it's really difficult. It's hard. I mean, truly, like, it's a big emotional load. It can be grueling, like I mentioned before, with the hospitalizations and things like that. Like, these are tough things.
Yes, it is. And like I said in the beginning, like, it's already tough to be a mom. It's already, and then add on all these other things. It's just, this is why I wanted to talk to you. So I know you talked about like seeing like a therapist for support. What other things do you do for self-care? Yeah,
I think boundaries are really important. Like I mentioned before, like where can my yeses go and where do my no's have to be? And I do ask myself that question a lot of times. It's like, well, like if it has to be like a hell yes in order for me to, to sort of carve out the time for it. So I think that's really important, is being really mindful of where I'm spending my time and energy. And I have to do the things that make me. That's really important. I can't just be, caregiver. I can't just be advocate. I can't just be mom. I'm a reader. I need to read. I need to make that time to read. Like that to me is non-negotiable. I'm a person of faith, and so being involved in my faith community is really important. It's finding time. It's tricky. It doesn't always look the same. I think flexibility is important, and I need to allow myself to just adapt. Like last year I was fantastic about getting to yoga, and that was really a buoy to me. And this year my things have changed and I can't get there as much. And so I have to be able to forgive myself that.
Yes.
And what else can I do instead? What else feels good and is important? And for me right now, that's just getting out to walk, and making sure that I do those things.
Good.
There's also a great, particularly for moms, but they do offer once in a while dad and couples retreats. There's a great organization called A Mother's Rest.
Oh.
And they offer pretty affordable retreats for parent caregivers. And it could look like a variety of things, some adoptive parents or bereaved parents even.
Oh, wow.
There's a whole variety of things you can check. Like
A Mother's Rest?
A Mother's Rest.
This is so important because so many... I could like think of one already of like a family that could use this.
Yes. Yeah. And so I get away on those. They're typically 3 nights long, because the founder of this nonprofit, like it takes that long, that many hours for your cortisol levels, I guess, to drop. And so they are by design 3 nights in length.
Wow.
And I've been able to try to get to those at least once a year, maybe more than that. And it's just quiet time, where I'm not accountable to anybody else. And that, you talk about privilege, like that's a real privilege to have to be able to step away and take that break and take that time.
Right.
But I think all of us in my family, we're all the better for it.
Oh, yes. They know. Everybody knows when a mom is stressed for sure. I haven't. It's so funny because I was talking about self-care and wellness with Danielle, who was also on the podcast. She's a wellness coach. And I said, what do you tell people when they say they don't have enough time? And life has gotten really busy lately. And I was like, the first thing to go is yoga. Like when things are busy, I just don't have so it is important. And so when I did have time, I told my husband, I was like, I need to go to yoga. He's like, please go. And then he told my daughter, and Amber was like, yes, thank goodness mom's going to yoga, because I was Yes, it's been very stressful. So, what about you? You mentioned you are Jennifer, a person. What are your career goals for yourself in the future?
That's a good question. Writing is really important to me. And, in addition to the blogging that I did kind of early on, I've gone on to write creative nonfiction, and publish some pieces in literary journal and different places. And so pursuing the writing is really important to me. And so my career goals are kind of to align with that. I need the time and the space to be able to continue writing. And at the same time, we're raising a family and we need to support our family, and we have accessibility goals for our home, which will be an investment. So, yeah. So
what are we talking about? Like an elevator, or what are we talking about?
So, yeah, there's so many different options, but we have multi-levels. And so we need to make it accessible. But what we think we'll need to put in a wheelchair lift to go from like our garage and to get Hildy into the main floor of our home. Because right now we are transferring her, like carrying her anywhere she needs to go. And we can't get her wheelchair in and out of the house. And it's extremely heavy. Right. So what we're thinking about doing is a renovation that will create on our first floor a bedroom bathroom for her. And so that things will just be accessible. So we can do the wheelchair lift, because we would need to install an elevator because her bedroom currently is on the second floor. So then you've got we get her to the first floor and then also to the second floor. And then we'd still have to renovate the bathroom up there.
Can we just put this out into the universe? HGTV. If you hear us, that would be fantastic.
It would be fantastic. Yeah. And it just, it happens so quickly. Hildy is, like I said, she's 6, but she is on the smaller side.
So I just noticed we went back to Hildy. What was your career goal?
My career goal is to make enough money to make my house accessible. That's my career goal. No, the writing I think is my main career goal. But writers don't make a heck of a lot of money.
Right.
So,
but you're going to school at Rowan now.
Oh, I'm finished. I actually graduated.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
I graduated in May. So that felt fantastic. I had always wanted to get, a master's degree. I love learning. I'd probably go back and get like 5 more if, if time and money allowed. Yeah. I really do just love to learn. And so yes, I wouldn't have ever, I don't think, realized that I could do that until, I became a mom to Hildy, and I kind of realized why not? Why not me?
Exactly.
Why can't I do this?
I just said that this morning with a client, why not me? To the person, like Mindy Kaling says, why not you? Why not me? Right. Somebody, everybody started from somewhere. Yeah. But also, you're teaching.
I do. I teach as an adjunct instructor at Rowan. So that ended up being part of I feel like I just sort of fell into my my degree at Rowan and all those things. They have a writing arts department at Rowan, and I wanted to go. Like I said, I had journalistic writing really had been my training, and I felt like I was writing creative nonfiction before I knew what that was. And I realized that I had this hole, and I wanted to learn. I wanted to be in community with other writers, and I wanted to learn more about my craft and creative writing. And so that spurred me to go back to school. And I was just intending to get a graduate certificate, which was 9 credits. And take a couple of courses in order to accomplish that. But once I got into those courses, I really enjoyed them so much. And I kind of had a professor that gave me a very gentle little nudge and was like, "Are you sure you don't want to do the master's program?" Yeah. She said, "You're working on a larger project already." Right. And then she mentioned the teaching experience program. I was a New Jersey certified English teacher, so I already had that teaching experience. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, it just kind of seemed like a natural, because you get paid as an adjunct instructor while you're going to school and working on your graduate degree. So it just seemed huge. It seemed like how could I possibly do something like this? But with teamwork, we made it happen, and I'm so glad that we did.
You are amazing. I often think, like, how do you do it all? But
I don't do it all. I don't do it all. I think that's the important thing, is that maybe it looks like that, but I don't do it all. Right. I certainly don't do it all at once. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you work on little pieces at a time. I have to be intentional with my time, and and do the things that fuel me. And the master's program was something that, although it took my time and effort, it added a layer. Yeah. It added a layer of more things to do. However, it really fueled me. And that was important.
You invested in yourself.
Yes.
That's what that was. It was something that was just for you. Mm-hmm. Your little jewel that you could hold on to, that to give you the fuel for everything else.
And it's, it was allowing me to develop my craft of writing, which, my writing is my art. Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's such an important piece. For a long time, I had sort of stepped away from that part of myself. And I realize now how important that is, that it isn't just about like writing for catharsis or writing to document. Like, my writing is my art. Yeah. And so when you're a creative person, if you're closing off that part of yourself, it's not healthy.
Correct. It's a soul-filling activity versus a soul-sucking activity.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of our podcast. Where can people find you as far as your Instagram or your books and blogs? Where can people find you?
So I have a pretty complicated last name.
Yes.
But my Instagram is really easy. It's @JenWriter. And that's, I think, the most straightforward way. I have like one of those like Linktree things or whatever with different links out and stuff. So that's a great spot to find me. It's just one N, JEN, writer. And then my website, as you mentioned too, I have some publication links on there. I also have a blog, but I was blogging early on. I don't blog a whole lot now, but I do have other publication links listed on there as well. And that website is www.jennifer, with 2 N's, Lendvai-Lintner.com. So Lendvailintner.
What is your maiden name?
Livinio.
Oh my gosh. So it's not.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So it was going to be complicated anyway.
The last name is my husband's. Like the whole Lendvai-Lintner is his last name. He's of Hungarian descent, and it's not too uncommon to find that with Hungarian names, that they have this hyphenated situation. Yeah. But because in this country we often hyphenate a maiden name and a married name, people assume that it's a combo. For me, and it's actually not. If I would have a double hyphen if I had. You would have an impossible name. All right. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Jennifer, for taking time coming to our new space. It's beautiful in here. Thank you. And I will see you soon. Sounds great. Thank you. Thanks. Before we go, Aurora Healing Crew, take a deep breath like you're soaking in sunlight. Warm, steady, grounding. As you move through your day, check in with your gut. Notice how you feel around others. Your energy is precious. Protect it so you have the strength and light to do what really matters to you, because life is hard and we're getting through it together. Thank you for listening to the Aurora Sessions Beyond the Couch. Visit our website at aurorasuncounseling.com to learn more. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Just search Aurora Sun Counseling. Got questions or topics you'd love to hear us cover? Email us at info@aurorasuncounseling.com or drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you.